Back-to-back away victories for Western Sydney Wanderers. Central Coast Mariners slipped to Sydney FC, and a Nestori Irankunda hat-trick as Adelaide United defeat Western United 4-1. Plenty of action and drama across round 22 in the A-League men's competition. Here's the recap. Let's go through it all because plenty happened, and we're going to start off on Friday night, man. This match, 4-1 win for the Reds over Western United, a match that was really interesting heading into it. I thought Western United might have had an opportunity to get a result here. They'd picked up some decent results in their last few games, but as you can see here, straight off the bat, Irankunda, 19th minute, 46th minute, 48th minute with a hat-trick. Zach Clough with the penalty. Michael Roos picking up a consolation goal, but it was the Reds who were just unstoppable, specifically, of course, Nestori Irankunda. Look, when you see the setup here for Adelaide, they played a strong lineup. They did. With Ansell, Warland at the back, Ryan Kiddo back into the lineup as well. I like that front four as well. You've got Irankunda off the right, Zach Clough, who maybe not his natural position playing off the left-hand side, more, accustomed to playing to the middle. But, with Stefan Mork in that role, who I thought was really good in this match. And then Clough out wide, cutting onto his right. I mean, he had so many great opportunities to score from open play in this game. Zach Clough. This is a Western United setup that had, got, points in recent weeks, and you thought was maybe capable of getting another result here. Daniel Pena was maybe a little bit quieter in this game compared to recent weeks as well, but it was that man on the right for the Reds, Nestori Irankunda, who was so good in this game. And you just look at the stats from this match as well. These stats come from Google. Reds racking up 20 shots across the whole game. As I mentioned earlier, Zach Clough, he could have had a hat-trick on his own as well. Despite Western United controlling just a little bit more possession and creating some chances on goal, the Reds able to hold on for a big 4-1 win. Let's have a look at how it looks for on the ladder now for the Reds, because they're in a really fascinating position where, especially with the Wanderers winning, that makes it a little bit difficult. But they're a team who, with the personnel that they have, with guys like Irankunda, with Zach Clough, who can always, open up a game, there is a chance that they can, make that climb and catch the top six. But obviously they would really have to win. Basically all these bottom six teams would have to win every game from here on out. But, even more so than maybe some like Brisbane Roar, who were just ahead of them, now just 1 point ahead of them. Adelaide United and Melbourne City, I think, are those two teams who I think could potentially sneak into the top six. They may have just run out of time, though. You can see here now, a 9-point gap to sixth place, Western Sydney Wanderers. So they may have run out of time. Western United, though, you got to say, after this defeat, surely they are out of contention now for finals. Western United, 5 wins from this campaign so far. That was their 13th loss of the season. Again, you look at the form here on the ladder, and they hadn't lost for the last few weeks. They looked okay recently, probably playing the best they have all season. But unfortunately, it's too little too late for Western United. Let's jump into the next game now. We had some really entertaining matches on the Saturday, and it started off with this one here, Melbourne City, Newcastle Jets. Obviously, so much talk surrounding the Jets at the moment in regards to their ownership and, how is that going to play out? Hopefully it does get sorted soon enough. There's even, potentially talk that Newcastle Jets might not exist next season. Even as a Mariners fan, I would love Newcastle Jets to, I'd hate to see them leave the competition. Anyway, they picked up a huge point here away to Melbourne City. Really impressive defensive performance, especially Ryan Scott in goals, man, for the Jets, who was just making save after save. That young Newcastle Jets backline put in a really, really good performance in this game. They didn't have too much going forward. It was Melbourne City who you thought were more likely to score, and you look at the attacking threat that they had, through Yakalish, Arslan, and Natal again. Once again, Max Caputo starting in this game, the head of Jamie McLaren. So they're definitely going for that more youthful approach up front. Melbourne City, Ugarkovic and Jago working hard in midfield. It wasn't a bad performance by Melbourne City. It was just one of those days where Newcastle Jets were not going to be beaten. Let's take a look at the stats here as well for both teams. Of course, as we saw there, 19 shots for City, 10 shots for the Jets. You can see here as well, the home team dominating possession in this encounter. It was a game that easily they could have made that breakthrough. You just wonder whether, I know that they were able to bring on the likes of, look at this these players they're bringing off the bench, Leckie, McLaren, even Antonis, who has his experience. You thought the goal might have even come off the bench there as well. Would it have been different if the likes of Leckie and McLaren were starting? Potentially, but you can't put it down just to that. Newcastle Jets, again, another one of these teams, when we look at the ladder as it stands, really unlikely that they're going to hit finals. Same can probably be said with Perth Glory, despite the fact they do have a game in hand. Melbourne City as well, disappointed to not win this game. This was a good opportunity for them to get 3 points, keep them in touch with the top 6. They do have a game in hand in Wanderers, but 4 points behind. It's looking really interesting there for Melbourne City. Big few weeks coming up for the reigning premiers of the A-League men's. But big takeaway from that game, Newcastle Jets earning a huge point there away to Melbourne City. Straight after that game, Sydney FC 2, Central Coast Mariners 0. The Sky Blues doing the double this season on Central Coast Mariners. And look at these stats here from Google. I mean, this is just remarkable, and it sums up the story pretty well. Sydney FC recording 27 shots, 8 on target. Central Coast Mariners with just 3 shots. 3 shots. Sydney FC as well, obviously controlling majority of the possession, but it was just a stunning performance. And as a Mariners fan, I wasn't overly disappointed with my side's performance. I was obviously disappointed with the way that we attacked. We didn't really have any attack going forward. I thought we looked really blunt moving forward. And Sydney FC just controlled this game, from kickoff to the full-time whistle. They had everything in this game. And I thought, as the game went on, and look, that first goal did come in the 74th minute, I thought maybe it did have a sort of a nil feel about it, and that wouldn't have been a bad result against a good Sydney FC side. But they grabbed those 2 quick fire goals there. Sydney FC, Caceres, Joel King. Joel King getting his first ever Sydney FC goal. Big moment for the left back. Disappointing though, considering as well the run that the Mariners have been on. The last time they'd lost a game in the last 20 or 19 games or something was against Sydney FC a few weeks ago. And again, the loss comes against Sydney FC. I don't know what it is with the Sky Blues, but we really struggled against them. And, we think back to the very first game of the season, even before the A-League, in the Australia Cup. Mariners lost to Sydney FC. So Centralcoast having a really tricky run against the Sky Blues of late. Credit to them as well, who are doing a good job, especially even integrating some youngsters. As you see in this lineup, Hayden Matthews getting an extended run in the team, as well as Corey Holman, JD Kaczarski as well, another youngster there. So Ufuk Talay, credit to him, has done a good job of integrating those young players into this Sky Blues lineup. Again, you look at this Mariners lineup, the only real key player that they're missing is Jacob Farrell. He was out for this game. Stormroos starting at left back. Pretty strong lineup. You'd expect, especially with, someone like Josh Nisbet coming off his recent Socceroos experience, would have led Mariners to a result here. Not to be on this occasion. 2-0 for Sydney FC. A big 3 points for them. Let's take a quick glance at the ladder. Sky Blues still just 5th on the table, as you can see here. Level on points with Wanderers, who are also just hanging at the bottom of the top 6 there as well. So it feels like Sydney FC, though, with the way that they've been playing, that they deserve to be a bit higher on the ladder. Coming up, they do have a midweek game against Perth Glory, so if they can get a result there, that would be huge for them to push even further up. Macarthur lost against Wanderers, obviously, so there's a chance for the Sky Blues to jump up and keep their top 2 hopes alive. The Sky Blues there, but they are looking pretty good in the last couple of months as they make the run into the end of the season. Sunday, we saw some intense matches. Wellington Phoenix holding on for a 1-0 win against Brisbane Roar. Fascinating as well when you look at the stats. Hey, Brisbane Roar, they certainly had the opportunities. They were creating chances in both halves as well. Wellington Phoenix, again, could have had a couple more goals, especially in the second half. Some great opportunities there. Costa Barbarouses almost adding to his tally this season, but it was that second-minute Krayev goal. And Wellington were able to control most of the game from there. Defensively, despite, those numerous shots from Brisbane, they did look pretty comfortable in defence overall. Wellington Phoenix, disappointed. Phoenix fans will be disappointed with that red card to Alex Rufer. Contentious one for me. Correct call. I think, look, he didn't intend to, but even if you accidentally step on a player, I can't see how that's not a red card. Alex Rufer set to miss a big fixture this weekend against Central Coast Mariners. Again, you look at this Brisbane Roar lineup, which As something that I talked about last time around, I mean, Henry Hoare playing a deeper role alongside Jay O'Shea. Not sure if that's his best position. He's someone who has really flourished for the Roar in a more advanced role, in a wide position. And you look at sort of those players there. I mean, Berenguer, Milujuznic, Jelicic, Henry Hoare. I mean, I'm echoing that point I made last time where a lot of these guys are sort of similar players, these attacking, playmaking players, whether they're wide players or through the middle. I think Ruben Zakovic is maybe still trying to find the right balance to get all those guys working. You know, you've even got someone like Marco Rojas who you can put into that conversation who wasn't involved in this game. So yeah, Brisbane Roar obviously still struggling without Scott Neville at the back as well, so missing his experience also. Are they running out of time to hit the top six? I think so. Even though they still, do have an opportunity, I mean, they're really going to have to, especially get a win away to Wanderers upcoming this round. Wellington Phoenix, though, that's the big story. 6 points clear at the top. And the next game is against second place Central Coast Mariners. It'll be interesting to see how Mariners go midweek in that match against Melbourne City. Wellington Phoenix, though, if they win that game coming up against Mariners on the weekend, I think regardless of how Mariners' midweek game goes, I think if Wellington can defeat Central Coast away, the premiership is all but sealed by there. It'd be really hard to see anyone Mariners catch Wellington. They've been so impressive for so much of this campaign. Just 3 losses in 23 A-League matches. What a performance it's been from Wellington Phoenix this year. And another 3 points here against Brisbane Roar. The second Sunday game was Melbourne Victory 2. Perth Glory 1. A win here for Melbourne Victory, which wasn't super comfortable. It got a little bit nervy there in the second half, but Fornaroli scoring 2 goals against his former side, either side of halftime. And then a big story for Daniel Benny, scoring his first goal in the A-League, a breakout season for the 17-year-old. Glory again just didn't look like they had enough. I mean, you look at the lineups here and you comparing them, you just see the strength that Victory possess. I mean, you look at the players that they have on the pitch, Machash, Fornaroli, Arzani, a midfield duo of Teague and Brimmer who were good in this game as well. Solid at the back, weren't they? De Silva, Roderick, Miranda, aside from from the goal for Perth Glory where De Silva made that error. And then Perth Glory, so many young players in there. When you look at, Majaka Dumni, Osler, Benny, Gorman. So these young players who Alan Stajic are just, trying to give game time to, potentially maybe thinking a bit more about next season, building, a strong team to challenge next campaign potentially. But yeah, just simply on paper, you can see they're not really able to compete with Melbourne Victory. Take nothing away from the talent of those young players for Perth Glory. Great for Daniel Benny to finally get his first goal. He's had a really, really good breakout season for Glory. But again, you could probably say another one of those teams, as we take a glance at the ladder here, where you're probably going to say it's going to be too hard for them to finish in a top 6 position. I mean, there they are, 10th on the ladder now, aren't they? 21 points, struggling for wins of late. Again, they're one of those teams who had a decent little period a little while ago. It's looking pretty tricky for them. Melbourne Victory, 3rd on the ladder, 38 points here. They're a team who have a serious chance now of catching Mariners and finishing in the top 2, which we know is very important to finish in that top 2. It gives you that first week of finals off, secures your place in the semi-finals. So Melbourne Victory still hunting for that place. It's the wins column that's letting them down. Of course, we know that the wins column is more important than the goal difference now for the A-League. So 9 wins behind Mariners, 12 wins. So that could, come into play potentially at the end of the season. Let's talk about the final game of the round because it was a dramatic one. Macarthur FC 1, Wanderers 3. We did a live watch along for this game. Thank you for everyone who tuned into that one. It was a lot of fun. This was a weird game. Macarthur FC, the stats sum it up pretty well. 24 shots, especially in that first half, were really dominant, controlled the game, controlled possession. Only managed 4 shots on target, but they did have some great chances in that first half, and you thought should have been up by at least 1 heading into the sheds at half-time. Wanderers, though, made a couple changes early in that second half, and that really swung the game. And it was this guy, Nikola Milanovic, who came on to the pitch for Milos Ninkovic and just turned the game. Number 14 for Wanderers, scored an incredible goal and set up another one too. Kittel, Hendricks as well, 2 players who have come over from Europe and got on the score sheet as well for Wanderers, both of those players. respectively, both players, first goals respectively for them. Wanderers, though, fantastic for Wanderers to get another 3 points here, back-to-back wins away from home, considering how much they were struggling for, the couple months prior to that as well. Macarthur, again, you look at this lineup and it's really, really strong. Borges Rodriguez was really good in that first half. Jake Holman off the left. Davila was picking up fouls left, right and centre. Wanderers were really trying to nullify him and did a good job of doing that, to be fair. Just didn't have enough in this game. And even towards the end, when they did get that one goal, Matt Miller, great to see him back from injury, back on the score sheet as well. They didn't look dangerous going forward. They didn't look like they were going to break through that Wanderers backline, who were so solid in this game. Marcelo, Tom Beadling, I thought were fantastic. That centre-back duo, what a performance at the back. As we look at the ladder here, the win is so important for Wanderers because it just opens that gap a little bit between them and Melbourne City. Again, City with that game in hand, but 4 points clear as it stands. And look at this sort of between 4th and 6th. You got your 3 Sydney teams. Macarthur on 35, Sydney on 34 points, Wanderers on 34 points. Really, really fascinating to see how these remaining rounds play out. Macarthur do host Sydney FC in a couple weeks' time. That'll be fascinating. But those teams could finish anywhere on the ladder. Obviously, to finish in 4th place is very important because it means you get that home elimination final. So that can make the difference for whoever finishes in that position. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Drop your thoughts on this round of football in the comments section down below. My name's Lockie. This is Coastwood Football, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.